Tis I. Hey everyone, glad to see you back, glad to see you looking fresh, and today I want to talk about the worst films of 2024, something I've never done before on this channel, with making a worst list. I've talked about things I haven't liked before, but never have I ranked things, talked about my least favorite things, just gone over bad things overall, till today. So, let's do it, right? Why not? I saw a lot of movies this year, and I want to talk about the worst of them. So, there's only 10, because even though I'm going to be a little mean, I don't want to be too mean on too many movies. So, these are obviously ranked from my favorite, I guess, to my least favorite. If you can call number 10 my favorite in any way, it'd be on this list. But you get how these kind of things work. Let's just jump into this thing.
Number 10.
Rebel Moon Part 2, The Scar Giver, is another bloated mess of a film that Zack Snyder felt like the world needed to see. And it's crazy because he claims that this is not the full version. There's a director's cut. Come in, or it already exists, or what. I don't care enough to remember to watch the second part again. I remember being really excited for these. Like, Zack Snyder's making something that he wants the world to see. It's not based on anything besides what's in his own mind. And that seemed like a fun enough concept and idea. And I was like, all right, Zack, let's see what you got. What he got was a Star Wars ripoff that doesn't feel finished. It feels rushed, even though it's bloated. And it's just a mess of a movie that, if I would have done a worse of the list, then this first part would have been on last year's list. So, yeah, it's just not very good.
Number 9.
Under Paris proves to me that even though I love a bad shark movie, there are some bad shark movies that even I don't like. And leave it to the French to make a movie about bad sharks. I guess the sharks are a bad shark movie. And it be just boring and weird, and I'm like, I don't like this movie. Why is this movie this? I don't know. But whatever. Under Paris, it's not fun bad. That's why shark movies are fun, because they're fun bad, and this isn't even fun bad. It's just bad, and that makes it worse.
Number 8.
Okay, depravity. I don't care. This movie I saw because I've had a crush on Victoria Justice for as long as I was able to understand what a crush was. She has always been there. You know, she was on Zack and Cody, then she was on The 101, and she just would guest star in things, and then growing up, even through like middle school, she was on shows, and I just had a crush on her for as long as I can remember. So when I hear she's in a new movie, and I hear maybe there's a sexy scene in the movie, there's part of my brain that's like, you know, let's support our day ones, right? And then I see the movie, and it's not good, and it's not fun, and it's not sexy, and it's not... that scene isn't worth the price of admission. And I would say just watch that scene, but that's weird to do. Don't do that. That's a weird thing to be doing. I'm not saying go do that. I'm saying if you want to see that scene, watch the movie, I guess, but I don't think it's worth seeing just for that, because the movie's bad and boring, and it's not interesting. And listen, Victoria, I know you watch this. I know you watch my channel. So, let me just say this to you. I like you. I think you're good. I think you deserve better movies. I don't know why you're in bad movies, but I think you deserve a breakout role in a movie. Get an A24 movie or something. Give Victoria Justice the chance to be a superstar that I think she deserves to be. She's right there. Just that one little push, you know?
Number 7.
Okay, Miller Girl was sold to me as a bad movie. As Dan, you may be asking, Dan, why would you watch a movie that's bad if you know it's bad? Well, sometimes, I'm going to be honest with you, sometimes you got to watch a bad movie to enjoy a good movie. You know, so if you only watch good stuff, then your view is going to be skewed a little bit, and you'll see something that's just okay, and you'll say it's horrible. So you got to watch bad stuff sometimes. I'm going to be honest with you. I knew this one was going to be bad, and I wasn't disappointed. But here's the other reason I watched it, right? It's because I like the stars in it. I like Jenna Ortega. I like Martin Freeman. So I go in and I'm like, how bad can it really be? The answer is pretty bad. Not only is it just bad on concept alone, the concept's gross. And it doesn't even, like, let its own story suffer its own consequences. It just makes the viewer suffer the consequences because the titular situationship is gross on paper, but it's really only in, like, a story that the character writes in the story that we're seeing, but we have to witness as a viewer the consequences and the grossness of the story, but the story itself doesn't really suffer any consequences, and so it's not even, like, satisfying in that aspect. It's unfulfilling in the way that it needs to be to justify its own existence, but it shouldn't have to justify its own existence because the existence is weird and gross, and I don't like stories about teacher and students, and so it's a bad movie, don't watch it.
Number 6.
So you're telling me Blood and Honey 2 got a sequel, and it's better than the first one, I'll give you that. Because again, if I would have made this list, was it last year, 2 years ago when the first movie came out, it probably would have been the worst movie of the year. This one comes out, and I'm like, it's better. It's better in the way that being pissed off is better than being pissed on, though. It's not good by many stretches of the imagination, but it's better. It's more competently put together. It looks like an actual movie, and it is setting up a cinematic universe of characters that Disney made popular that are in the public domain, so why not ruin their reputation a little bit? As I said about the first movie, and I will give them credit, they did do it this time. In the first movie, when I watched it, I said, if you're gonna make a movie based out of spite, at least put a little effort into it. This movie did have some effort put into it. I wish there was some talent behind it, though.
Number 5.
Okay, Uglies. So here's the thing. This movie should have came out in 2011, right as we were getting into the whole thing about teen dystopian stories. It would have sat right alongside The Hunger Games, which is the best of that genre, mind you. I don't dislike The Hunger Games, I like those movies. But it was sat alongside, like, the Divergent series and that City of Bones thing, and just the rest of those that, like, exist and were really popular for a minute, and now no one cares. And for some reason, Netflix and McG, famed director McG of classics of years gone by, decided to make one that was over a decade late, I would say. And it's just not good, and it's ugly. Barring the title, it is an ugly-looking film, filled with really bad CGI. It has all the pitfalls of that genre, which was dead a decade ago, and all the pitfalls of Netflix movies now. So if that seems like your thing, then feel free to watch it, but I wouldn't recommend it.
Number 4.
Borderlands is the lowest video game movie on the list. Oh, okay, so Borderlands, I like the Borderlands games. You know, you play them and they're fun. You can play them on split screen with your buddies, and that's a lot of fun. You're shooting bad guys, you're collecting new guns, and you're mixing and you're maxing, and you're having a good time. And this game looked at that and saw none of the fun. It saw the characters, sure. They're like, let's copy paste some characters that we can call the same, but they're not. They're a little bit different in the worst way. And let's make them as annoying as they can be in the game. Let's be honest, the game sometimes a little annoying without any of the fun and none of the art style. And it just exists a lot of the time. The action scenes come out and they're like, it exists. It's not horrible, but it's not good. Makes it so hard to watch this movie. Why is everyone so loud? I feel like an old person trying to play video games for the first time. Like, why is everything so loud and noisy? And I just don't understand. I just don't get it. And I can see why someone wouldn't like the games if this is how they're seeing it. Because, man, this movie is just not good. It's just a headache for an hour and a half. It's not a fun time.
Number 3.
Saving Bikini Bottom, the Sandy Cheeks movie. So, here's the thing. Point 1. is that if you're looking at me and you're saying, Dan, you can't put a kid's movie this low because it's made for kids, it's not made for you. I never liked that argument. I think just because something is made not for your own viewing, it is barred from criticism, including kids stuff. Because kids stuff can be good, including SpongeBob. I think we all agree the first 4 seasons up into the first 4 seasons up until the movie are classics of childhood, and we all like it, and we all go back, not all of us, but a lot of people go back to it, look back on it fondly, and really enjoy it. So, I strike against that criticism. I don't like it. It's a non-starter. Second point, when Paramount looks at us and is constantly saying, Paramount Plus is the home of SpongeBob, and all these other SpongeBob spin-offs, the Patrick Star Show, and Camp Coral, and all this stuff that the creator of SpongeBob wouldn't have liked because he explicitly said he wouldn't have liked, but we're Paramount, and we're doing it anyway without his permission because he's dead now. What are you going to do about it? That's not what they actually said, but that's how it feels. The place of the home of SpongeBob, every SpongeBob thing you want to see, except this movie that we made that's based on Sandy Cheeks, apparently, even though SpongeBob's just as much in it, but whatever. We're going to let Netflix have it? Why? Because it's horrible. That's why. We don't want it here on Paramount Plus. Toss it, get rid of it. We don't want it anymore. We don't like this one. Ew, yuck. Send it away. Netflix can have it. And so they did, and I watched it on Netflix, and I'm like, this is bad. It's really bad. Don't watch it. It's not even funny bad. It's not even weird like the last one. It's just boring and bad and annoying. I don't like it.
Number 2.
Okay, so Cocaine Werewolf was probably the worst film of the year. If you went on my Letterboxd and you went to my lowest film, first of all, thank you for caring that much about my opinion that you scroll through all my films and go to the lowest rated film of the year. Second of all, that's kind of crazy that you're doing that. It's crazy that you want to spoil yourself like that. But yes, there is a little bit of that here. If you're digging, you'll see that some of the stuff is out of order. Because I have stronger opinions about things that are lower than higher than whatever. Cocaine Werewolf, on paper, is the worst film of the year. A film that is number 1 deserves to be the worst film of the year more, but we'll get to that in a second. Cocaine Werewolf has a sick poster. It looks cool. That's the only reason I watched it. And I guarantee you it's the same kind of marketing ploy that would be in the late 80s, early 90s. They'd make a poster that looks this cool, and so it would be sold to Blockbuster or a mom and pop video store, and a kid and his buddies would go and they would rent it, and they'd watch it on a Thursday, Friday, Saturday night, and be like, oh, that was bad, and then they'd get rid of it. But it was sold on a cool poster. And it'd be forgotten about for the next 30 years until Red Letter Media watched it on Best of the Worst, but that's where it would be. And that's where it deserves to stay. And this, even though I think the naming scheme is kind of doing the whole Cocaine Bear thing, I think it deserves to be lost in the past. And it's not. It's brand new. Which makes it all the worse. It's not 1989. It's 2024. So real quick, before we get into another one, I do have a dishonorable mention I wanted to mention. I think it's only deserving that we give a special award to the most disappointing film of the year, which is Argyle. I like Matthew Vaughn a lot. I like a lot of his filmography. I am in love with both Dua Lipa and Henry Cavill. So do you understand how bad of a movie you gotta make for me to be like, that was disappointing? Really bad. But to give them two a little bit of a break, they're barely in this thing. This film suffers such a disappointment to me because, one, it has my favorite pop star, one of my favorite actors who has played both Superman and Geralt, who, if you know me, those are two very important characters. John Cena, who I think is wonderful in so many things, and they use him for like a total of 5 minutes, right? Henry Cavill shows up a little bit more, but whatever. Total like 5 minutes. This movie's way too long. It's like over 2 hours long. And they're barely in it because it does this stupid thing. I never like this. Even in good movies, I don't like this. When there's a story in a story, and so I never get attached to the inside story because the outside story is reminding me that the inside story is fake. It's like, hey, this isn't real. This is happening. Who cares? And even something like Princess Bride, when it just keeps yoinking me out, Meaning like, hi, did you know this is a bedtime story I'm reading? I know. Let me be immersed. And it cracks immersion. And I understand that's the whole point of this movie. Is that the inside story isn't real, but it also is. That's the kind of... I'm getting off on a tangent. Maybe I'll make a video about Argyle and just complaining about it for 20 minutes. But that's the most disappointing movie of the year. It's not the worst, though, because the worst is...
Number 1.
Oh, Madam Web. Oh, Sony, why'd you do this? Madam Web deserves to be number 1, even though technically I gave it a higher score than Cocaine Werewolf. Oh, well. Madam Web is fundamentally broken as a movie. The plot lines are nonsensical. The characters' motivations are nonsensical. The acting is horrible. The decision-making from the studio, that's the worst part of it. That's why it deserves number 1. It's not only... Like, because Cocaine Werewolf, you could see and it's bad. But it doesn't feel like there are weird, like, meddling, like, fingerprints all over this being like, yeah, but you should change this and do that, because if we do this, then we can make more money over here. That's what Madam Web feels like, is that it feels like it is tainted by a studio that doesn't know what they need to be doing, or have any idea of what they want to be doing. They just want to milk Spider-Man for all that he's worth, to the point where they will drip feed Easter eggs all over this thing. They will skate around the name Spider-Man all they want, but they will not specifically say the name. I don't understand. I understand why this movie was made on a business level. I also have no idea why this movie was made on a business level. Madam Web? Of every Spider-Man villain, that's the one you went with? Madam Web? What? What? Are you kidding me? And you can be like, well, we want some female representation. Make a Black Cat movie, you dummy. What are you thinking? Oh my god. I can complain about Madam Web for a long time. Because it's the worst movie of the year. And it deserves to be called the worst movie of the year. You know what? I'll miss the Venom movies. I understand they're not well put together. I like seeing the Venom movie every now and again. That's the only thing I'll miss about these Sony Spider-Man, non-Spider-Man movies. Because Morbius sucked, and I assume that Craven sucks. I just haven't seen it because I don't want to pay to watch it. When that gets dropped on Netflix, I'll probably subject myself to that as well. But anyways, I've been talking about bad movies longer than I thought I was going to. That's my worst list of the year. I hope you enjoyed hearing me ramble on about these for a little bit. What were your least favorite movies of the year? And if you enjoyed this, let me know. I might do it again next year, because it's kind of a fun little experiment that I'm trying. Because I haven't done this before. So, I hope you enjoyed. As always, like this if you like this, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you at some point.